Productivity tools were created to help people work better. That was the promise. Organize your tasks. Track your progress. Eliminate friction. Optimize your time. Calendars became smarter. Task managers became more detailed. Dashboards began to measure everything. And yet, despite unprecedented access to productivity systems, people report feeling more overwhelmed, more distracted, and less focused than ever before. Workdays feel longer. Attention feels fragmented. Progress feels abstract. This is not a coincidence. It is the result of a subtle psychological mismatch between how productivity tools are designed, and how the human mind actually works. 1. Productivity as a measurable illusion. Modern productivity tools are built around visibility. Tasks are listed. Progress is tracked. Metrics are displayed. This creates the sensation of control. But visibility is not the same as effectiveness. A task written down does not become easier. A checklist does not reduce cognitive complexity. A dashboard does not guarantee meaningful output. What productivity tools excel at is making work feel structured, not making it better executed. The mind interprets structure as progress, even when nothing substantial has changed. This is the first illusion. 2. The dopamine problem. Every productivity tool uses feedback. Check marks. Progress bars. Completion animations. Daily streaks. These features are not neutral. They stimulate dopamine, the same neurotransmitter involved in habit formation and reward-seeking behavior. The brain begins to associate managing tasks with the feeling of accomplishment. Over time, a subtle shift occurs. The reward comes not from doing the work, but from interacting with the system. Organizing feels productive. Categorizing feels productive. Optimizing workflows feels productive. Actual execution becomes secondary. This is how productivity tools quietly turn into productivity theater. 3. When planning replaces thinking. Planning feels intelligent. It feels responsible. It feels strategic. Productivity tools amplify this tendency by encouraging constant replanning. Reordering tasks. Reprioritizing lists. Redesigning systems. But planning is not thinking. Real thinking is slow, uncomfortable, and uncertain. Planning is neat, controlled, and emotionally reassuring. The more sophisticated the tool, the easier it becomes to stay in planning mode indefinitely. The mind remains busy, without engaging deeply. 4. Cognitive load and the cost of externalization. Productivity tools externalize memory. At first, this feels helpful. You no longer need to remember tasks. You no longer need to hold deadlines in your head. But memory is not just storage. It is a context-building system. When tasks live entirely outside the mind, the brain loses its internal map of priorities, relationships, and urgency. Instead of understanding work, the mind constantly references interfaces. This creates friction where none is visible. The work feels heavier, not because it is harder, but because cognitive continuity is broken. 5. Fragmentation of attention. Most productivity tools encourage task switching. Multiple lists. Multiple categories. Multiple notifications. Each switch carries a cognitive cost. The brain does not reset instantly. It leaves residue. Over time, attention becomes shallow. Focus is interrupted not by distraction, but by organization itself. The tool meant to protect attention becomes the primary reason it fractures. 6. The metric trap. What can be measured becomes important. What cannot be measured becomes invisible. Productivity tools measure. Tasks completed. Time spent. Streaks maintained. They cannot measure depth of thinking. Quality of insight. Long-term value. This shifts behavior. People choose tasks that are measurable over tasks that are meaningful. Easy wins replace hard thinking. The system rewards motion, not progress. 7. Productivity as identity. Over time, productivity tools stop being utilities. They become mirrors. People begin to define themselves by how organized they are, how optimized their systems feel, how busy their dashboards look. Busyness becomes a form of self-validation. Rest feels unproductive. Thinking feels unproductive. Simplicity feels irresponsible. This is not efficiency. It is anxiety disguised as discipline. 8. The myth of infinite optimization. There is always a better tool. A better workflow. A better template. A better system. Productivity culture feeds on this belief. The result is constant system hopping. The mind searches for relief through tools instead of confronting complexity directly. But no system can eliminate uncertainty. And no tool can replace clarity. 9. When tools replace judgment. Good work requires judgment. What matters now? What can wait? What deserves depth? Productivity tools attempt to automate these decisions. Priority labels. Urgency markers. Algorithmic reminders. But judgment is context-dependent. When tools decide too much, the mind stops practicing discernment. Over time, confidence erodes. People feel productive, but unsure. 10. The productivity paradox. The more tools people use to manage work, the less they trust themselves to do it. The system becomes the authority. Without it, work feels chaotic. This dependency is the hidden cost. 11. Why this feels like progress. Productivity tools provide clarity at the surface level. They reduce ambiguity visually. But ambiguity is not always the enemy. Some uncertainty is necessary for creative and intellectual work. By eliminating discomfort too early, tools prevent depth from forming. 12. The professional cost. In professional environments, productivity tools accelerate communication. But they compress thinking time. Quick responses replace thoughtful ones. Visibility replaces value. Work becomes louder, but not better. 13. The quiet shift in how work feels. Work used to feel demanding. Now it feels relentless. Not because there is more to do, but because there is no psychological boundary. Productivity tools ensure work is always present. Always visible. Always pending. The mind never disengages. 14. What productivity actually requires. True productivity depends on sustained focus, clear priorities, deep thinking, meaningful rest. None of these scale well. None of these are easily measured. That is why tools struggle to support them. 15. Reclaiming productive capacity. The solution is not abandoning tools. It is redefining their role. Tools should support thinking, not replace it. Structure should follow clarity, not precede it. Less tracking. Fewer metrics. More intentional friction. 16. The return of simplicity. Some of the most productive people use the simplest systems. Not because they lack tools, but because they protect attention. They minimize interfaces. They reduce decisions. They preserve mental space. 17. Productivity without performance. When productivity becomes a performance, work becomes hollow. The goal shifts from creating value to appearing effective. This is the final illusion. 18. A different definition of productive. Productive does not mean busy. Productive does not mean optimized. Productive means aligned. Aligned with priorities. Aligned with capacity. Aligned with reality. 19. The central question. The question is not, how can I do more? It is, what actually matters enough to deserve my attention? No tool can answer that. 20. Closing reflection. Productivity tools are powerful. But power without understanding creates dependency. When systems become louder than judgment, work becomes heavier. The most effective productivity system is not the most advanced. It is the one that disappears when thinking begins. This is only the surface of the problem. Because productivity tools do not exist in isolation. They operate inside an environment shaped by constant interruption, digital urgency, and the economics of attention. To understand why these systems exhaust rather than empower, we need to examine the world they are built for. That is where this analysis continues. Part 2 explores how productivity tools collide with the attention economy, and why this collision leads to burnout, fragmentation, and the illusion of progress.